Hi folks, welcome back to the Camping Astronomer channel. It's early March at the moment and Mars is still in the news. Obviously a few weeks ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, NASA landed a probe on Mars, which is now sending back some stunning pictures. But Mars is also still quite prominent in the night sky. It's quite a long way away now compared to where it was in the autumn. But it's now doing a fairly close pass to an open star cluster called the Pleiades, or the Seven Sisters. And I've been seeing quite a lot of photographs on my Facebook pages of people who've taken a picture of this in the last sort of few days. So my plan over the next couple of nights, whichever one turns out to be clearest, is to take a photograph of Mars making a close pass with the star cluster. The Seven Sisters star cluster is located in the constellation Taurus, easily visible with the naked eye, as is Mars, and sits for me towards the west at the moment. This should make a great picture if it turns out okay. My name's John and I make videos on camping, astronomy and walking. If you like what you see in this video, then please check my channel out, as there may be others that interest you there. But in the meantime, let's crack on with today's video. In Greek mythology, the Pleiades, or the Seven Sisters, were the 7 daughters of the Titan Atlas, and Atlas was doomed to spend his whole existence holding up the sky, so he was unable to protect his daughters from the attentions of the giant hunter Orion. Zeus found out about this and turned the 7 sisters into 7 stars and put them in the night sky to get them out the way of Orion. Now, we only actually see 6 stars visible to the naked eye. So what happened to the 7th one? Well, the 7th star, as the legend goes, the 7th daughter, fell in love with a mortal, so she had to go into hiding, and according to Greek mythology, that's the reason why you only see 6 stars with the naked eye. In fact, from my back garden, I'd be hard pressed to see 4 or 5, let alone 6. But from a dark sky site, you can actually see 6. Now, the Pleiades was also an important constellation for the ancient Aboriginal cultures. Its first rising in the dawn meant that winter had started, and they also regard the Pleiades as 7 girls, and also these 7 girls are being chased by Orion, and Orion, depending on which story you read, is either a single man, like in the Greek culture, or a group of boys pursuing the 7 sisters. Equally, the Aboriginal culture also has stories as to what happened to the 7th sister, because they could only see 6 stars also, and their theories were perhaps that the 7th girl had died or had been abducted. What's kind of interesting here is that these 2 cultures have very, very similar stories around the same constellation. And originally it was thought that maybe Europeans brought the story to Australia and that it's been adapted by the Aboriginal culture. But the stories in the Aboriginal culture predate any contact with the outside world by tens of thousands of years. So that isn't really a possibility. One theory that's been mooted is that the story was actually developed in Africa more than 100,000 years ago, and that when mankind left Africa, and some went north to Europe and some went east towards Australia, that they took the story with them. And this is given a little bit more credibility by the fact that computer models have shown that 100,000 years ago the Seven Sisters would have in fact shown 7 stars to the naked eye, and that the gradual movement of the stars over the years meant that one of the Seven Sisters has moved slightly in relation to other stars and now sits slightly behind another star, meaning that to the naked eye, perhaps from 50,000 years ago or so, this star would no longer be visible as a separate entity. So although the original stories referred to 7 sisters, people 50,000 years ago or so looking up at the sky would only have seen 6 of the 7, and would have had to have come up with reasons as to what happened to the 7th sister. So it's just interesting that this particular constellation may well have been looked at by our human ancestors over 100,000 years ago, and a story developed around them which would make it perhaps one of the oldest stories in the world. But anyhow, enough talk about mythology. Let's look at what we're going to use to take our photograph. So I love my Star Adventurer mount. It's perfect for this type of photograph, and as you can see, it's very, very light. We'll be using it today in its simplest form, just with a ball head fitted straight onto it, no counterweight bars or anything like that, because the camera that I'll be using is a bog standard Canon DSLR camera, a fairly low range one, with a 50mm lens. And this bit on the top, sometimes people stop me and ask what that is. That's when because I use this for daytime photography. That's a little red dot finder that helps me get everything into place. But the 50mm lens should frame up the shot quite nicely, and then I can crop down from there. So yeah, that's the kit for tonight, or tomorrow, depending on when it's clear next. When I see you next, I'll take you outside.
Is it just me, or is it hard to agree with what you're trying to explain? I don't mind feather wings, no diamond rings, but that's not how you get to me, no. We could sit in the shade, talk till late, and then we'll see. We can go for walks, stroll down the city park, and maybe, just maybe.
Well, that turned out to be a very stress-free and very rewarding night. I was out for an hour and a bit, took about an hour's worth of 2-minute exposures, and I was dead pleased to get the blue gas and dust around the Pleiades. That was really what I was after, and that contrasted really nicely with the kind of orangey red of the planet Mars. So yeah, overall I was dead chuffed, and you know, it's done with inexpensive equipment, no telescope or anything like that. Very cheap DSLR with a cheap nifty 50 basic 50mm lens. I shot at f4, which was basically stopped down by about 2 stops just to prevent star distortions, and I used ISO 400 in the end. I started off on 1600, but that just completely washed the picture out, and I gradually reduced the ISO until I got a picture and a histogram that I was happy with. And so yeah, I'll put the picture up now. Hope you like that. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video and a little bit of the kind of mythology side of it behind some of the stuff that you can see in the night sky. So on that note, I shall bid you cheerio, and I'll see you next time.